Welcome back, everybody. Taking a look at some of the replays here. Actually, Team BattleComics were able to...
you just want to say Team Bitcoin, don't you?
I just can't stop myself. Every single time I'm like, Team Bitcoin, Team Bitcoin, Team BitConnect to the moon. It's just, I can't stop myself, Papa. But either way, it was MVP, actually, not the best performance here. And Team BattleComics actually having a decent showing. A little bit of sloppiness, some mistakes here and there. Maybe we could mark it up to some early game promotion jitters, but other than that, they were pretty good.
I think outside of Joker going for some plays that could certainly have turned this game back to MVP, despite it otherwise being a very strong performance on the other four, I agree. I come away with a lot more optimism for Team BattleComics than I did coming into this series because of their meager results in Challenger and MVP. Usually they can be a final boss in promotion tournaments left, right, and center, but short of the Tom Kens just not being able to get in range. Could have QSS'd and got the Devourer in there. That was another small misplay from Joker. Basically everything else went well, and when they finally got something that approximated a 5v5, well, it turns out that Varus and Nazir at 4 or 5 items do insane damage.
Those two in the pit, they got in trying to smite, and they both just disappeared. Then it was Pilot against Soar, who was level 18 Mundo, who said, I don't care about any damage. ADD tried to jump in, and Hysterix disappeared, and Zoe, I didn't even see her die. It was just that late game that we were talking about, and BattleComics were able to get there. And, well, we do have a surprise to start off the day. The favored team did go down in game one.
It's a really, really poor performance by Yondu, I would say, on the Trundle. Now 0-7 Trundle. I think put that one in the dumpster and find something new because the Trundle is not working. And, you know, you lose another 4 games in a row and you're in Challenger next year. So not the longest leash here for MVP. They lost on their side selection as well. So we'll see if there's any changes if BattleComics will choose blue side for game number 2. Adjustments in the draft could also come. The draft was definitely a different texture of bans in the first round. You remember there's some stuff that we're not used to, but again, first match on 8/17 in Korea. No MVPs to be awarded. We're used to it because the music usually reaches a crescendo and then we award someone the MVP. My MVP would be on Fleek for game number 1, but Dove was a very good player as well.
Dove, you know, he had the best farm in the game, and his mechanics are really there. I mean, a lot of the stuff that surprised me from watching him in Challengers came true here in game number 1. He didn't look nervous at all, so definitely liked his play on Fleek. Was playing on Fleek. Keebler Law on Twitter helped us out with that one. Just means to basically look perfect, or basically appear to be perfect, so I suppose somebody's game can be on Fleek. Something like that. The old fogies here on the desk learning about all you youngins' new language.
Yeah, thank you very much to everyone who tweeted us, like you mentioned, Keebler. Phrase on Fleek, like the phrase on point, it's used to mean basically perfectly done or exactly right. So, you know, based on his job as Olaf, the power farm into catching the Kaisen rotation on Fleek was living up to his name as the bans once again are the same on blue side. On the red side, the Varus is going to be banned by MVP.
Yep, exactly the same, except for the Varus and Aatrox. And, I mean, we saw what Dove can do in the finals, right, of Challenger playoffs, and he looks really good on that mid. Aatrox would expect him to jump onto that here.
Could be the mid lane matchup as well. Again, it seems to be mostly a Dove champion, not so much Soar, who is a bit more of a tank player outside of Jace. Jace seems to be the one he'll visit. Camille priority led to no fruit in game number 1, and it seems like the Camille's going to be dropped for now. Yondu is looking to consider jumping on Olaf duty. Didn't really play any Olaf in the regular season of the LCK, so would have been a surprise. Skarner is perhaps more his speed when it comes to these junglers that can find something a bit earlier. And Yondu will jump onto just a Kai'Sa pick for Pilot for later. This time the Jax remains banned. Do we see BattleComics just pick up Olaf again? With Yondu having an answer to it, they are a big Xayah Rakan team as well. And this time they might get Aatrox and Xayah Rakan on blue side.
Definitely looks to be the case. Now Joker doesn't have the best Rakan compared to some of his other picks. That might be part of the reason why they're considering something else. They're going to pick up Tom Kench here. Again, as Shen is 9-3, as Rakan is 4-6, and Tom Kench after the last game now is 7-0. You mentioned Morgana already, but it's definitely uncommon to not go Xayah Rakan when you pick the Xayah.
Seems like they don't want to allow MVP to have a strong pick comp with the Tom Kench. So we were told Nunu is not allowed, so I don't think we're going to be seeing Nunu. Max definitely can have the mindset for engage on the Rakan as most play on the season. Hard to talk about win rates on MVP because, of course, didn't win many games, and they played 18 best of threes. There's going to be Kai'Sa Rakan, a bit of a feast or famine lane. Seems even more risky than something like a Kai'Sa Gragas that we see once in a while compared to Xayah Tom Kench. So the star-crossed lovers in game number 2.
Definitely a weird draft to start it off. Not something we're used to seeing over in the LCK. Definitely would have seen Xayah Rakan immediately picked up from the blue team in a normal draft, but either way, jumping into phase 2 of banning, Camille going to be taken away this time by MVP, no Ornn as well. I'm curious to see if Sora wants to just jump onto the Mundo once again. I mean, it looked decent into the Camille, but MVP definitely could try to counter that out.
Ban away the Trundle from OnFleek this time, so seems like Yondu has a pocket answer to the Olaf. Maybe his Rek'Sai will come back in this game, as Rek'Sai is always around the corner, was played in the Challengers final as well. The Olaf's going to be banned by BattleComics. We know that Yondu has those picks like the Amumu he's most famous for that he can visit any time. I had mentioned the Skarner earlier. That seems to be his choice for an early game jungler, kind of like Amazing, who does tend to slide towards something like the Skarner. Most junglers overlook it, but Yondu will jump on the Scorpion for game number 2.
Means that OnFleek, very comfortable, very relaxed guy in the booth. I like his style. He knows exactly what he's going up against, and I want to see what jungler he will take into that. Will he just take a step back or go aggressive? It looks like potentially Sejuani is going to be the pick here.
When we did have a Sejuani Skarner meta, I always loved the Sejuani side of this matchup because you just ult the Skarner, and then from there you can play around him. You're not worried if he ults you, so very simple answering to Skarner when you're in some sort of a tussle over a Drake. Just ult the enemy jungler, take away the objectives. So right now, the Sejuani going to be a pretty comfortable choice, and it seems like we're getting pretty beefy on the side of BattleComics. This would once again confirm the mid laner would be Aatrox on the mid lane pick coming through from Dove.
Yeah, just looking for a good blind pick from what's left available. Sora liked his Ornn in the regular season, but they banned that one out. And now ADD says, okay, what can your Cho'Gath do up against my Gangplank here?
This would be scaling again coming through from MVP. Now, scaling was gotten away with by BattleComics. They didn't necessarily inspire us with their ability to kill a game because they misplayed around Baron. But if you look at the lanes here, Aatrox versus Ryze is usually pretty 50-50, although this is Dove who solo killed a Ryze in, I believe, the semifinals against Kongnu Monster. The Cho'Gath usually actually takes an aggressive side in the lane at one item. When he gets something like a Righteous Glory, he can chase down and kill the GP. And I'm probably on the Xayah Tom Kench end of the duo lane, but it's pretty even. So maybe the junglers will be the most pivotal point, and that's based on game number 1 expectations. You have to like the look of the Sejuani from OnFleek.
Yeah, it definitely feels like BattleComics got the edge here in the draft for game number 2. I'm sure some people would say the same about game number 1, and definitely raises questions rather about where MVP is, if maybe they're underestimating BattleComics' ability to make this game go a little bit faster and get into that early mid-game advantage with their scaling composition.
Need ADD to be strong this game, because if Dove and Sora can both take him in a side lane, that's a really big problem for the side of MVP. See how much Dove can make in the mid lane, and see if he sticks on the Ignite and wants to get kills, because with Sejuani, you get one of those permafrost, the Ignite comes down, and the kills might come raining in. This is only a best of 3. It's not an elimination match, but it would put BattleComics into the winner's best of 5 and give them 2 best of 5s to find a victory and get into the LCK 2019. MVP would be a very surprising team to go down in this first series, but it could definitely happen. Already backs against the wall.
Surprises happen in the promotion tournament and also in best of 3s. Let's see if BattleComics can take over MVP here in game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Well, they tried this time. Didn't work out. Even Sung K, the host of the Korean desk, is like, well, I don't know what to tell you guys. That's not the greatest cheer. They need to work on that. We had that from Griffin even when they came up from Challenger, where their first game in LCK, nobody said anything, or one guy would cheer and then there would be no response. But as they begin to win, they get more people to cheer. I mean, at least this time they had the cheerleader. So that's good. Yeah,
well, I watch challenges from time to time. It's on Mondays where we don't have an LCK broadcast, and it is played on LAN. It is played over at the FLICKR TV studio, but I'm not actually 100% clear if there are any fans there. If there are, it's going to be a pretty meager amount. So assuming that, they just don't have the practice founders. Who knows if they even have a cheerleader who is assigned to do that particular thing, and thus, well, they're going to pick up the fans as they go, and if they make it to LCK, that's a perfect way to pick up a decent fan base. ADD got a Q in, but do notice no Klepto on this gangplank. Doesn't want to be taken down early, so has gone for the Resolve Tree gangplank, much more common recently, and now actually has topside Spire control. I imagine he actually dived out of lane and gave up a bit of lane position because the Skarner wants to hit the topside scuttle. We'll wait and see.
Well, I mentioned the first game, Azir versus Zoe. I wanted to see that matchup. I definitely want to see Dove back on the Aatrox mid and see if he can actually go head-to-head with Ian here. You were mentioning the Ignite. Ian went for the Cleanse up against Sejuani. Dove just going for his own Ignite here. Not going to have Cleanse for the Rune Prison. Could leave him a little bit vulnerable as the ganks start to roll in.
It's a lane where you assume Rai is going to have pretty good priority early, but exact matchup. You got a solo kill with the Ignite, so why don't you trust in the thing that worked for you very recently? There's challenges, playoffs. You guys are wondering about bossing around as Rise in these sort of matches. You start W, and it does very nice burst with an auto or two in the early game. So just a lot of harassment coming in. Phase rush from Ian could be very useful. But OnFleek impressed us with some real power farming. Again, almost no attention to the lanes early from the Olaf. Not on a Predator jungler this time, so could definitely be a bit more attention on the Sejuani this time around.
Yeah, went for the Aftershock, pretty common on the Sejuani nowadays, and I want to see him get aggressive. See about this mid lane, Ian does have the Cleanse, as I mentioned, but could at least try to blow some summoners to make it an easier lane for the Aatrox to get his items and not get too far behind the Rise. I mean, you can already see what the early game of the Rise is doing to this Aatrox, who's down about 7 CS.
Jungle intervention is usually where that tips. Will OnFleek reveal his position? The answer is yes. He's actually going to take the topside Spire. Always an interesting mind game if you pick up the Spire or if you walk past it, because it does reveal your position. The least surprising visit to mid lane ever, but I imagine this is about a back timing for Dove more so than a real gank attempt from OnFleek.
We have the runes up right now. See if we can find anything interesting.
Ravenous Hunter is taken by the Aatrox for even more life leech. We'll probably pair that with a Death's Dance, and we know that if you hit those sweet spots, suddenly Aatrox's health goes up about 400 in one burst as the game goes on.
Yeah. Saw Ian go for Biscuit here in Time Warp Tonic. Obviously, Time Warp Tonic is very common. Gonna hold that thought as Yondu going for the gank here. The flash coming in, but he wants that stun. Do they have the damage? Yes, they do. First Blood gonna go over to the GP. ADD in the top lane.
Nice damage calculation coming through from Yondu and ADD. The moment the flash was invested, you knew they were feeling it. Double flash, but they get the kill. They won't deny any minions. In fact, the cannon minion isn't even aggroed by the turret. Still feels good to get a kill, and it means that Sheen timing is nice and early coming through from the GP. I thought this would be abated when Soar flashed away and hit the Q. Thought the Q would be the big thing, but instead, from 500 health, they have trust in their damage, and they're on point.
They knew they could get that insta-stun. Nothing for the Cho'Gath to do after using his flash.
Here we go.
Okay, trying to get aggressive here. The Ignite is ready and able for Dove. Not able to commit fully to that, but you can see where that lane is going for him.
And I'm going to keep watching the positioning on the W, because that's twice on screen we've seen him hit it, and that's usually an ability and is trickier to aim. You want to just aim it in the middle of the enemy, but then it becomes pretty trivial to sidestep. Maybe there's some mind games there. Anyways, zooming in on this particular point, just a Ruby Crystal picked up for Dove on his way to a Black Cleaver in the mid lane. Just spending some time ducking out of the lane, potentially opening up things like the Scuttle Crab control. No kills in mid lane, but no CS lead for the Rise, more crucial.
I mentioned there was one earlier, but he is trying to catch up here. Small one. Take a look at the bottom side. It's also quite even for now. Both these guys pretty much exactly even on the CS. Looks like Pilot is one behind.
So Doran's Ring start for Pilot, but do notice he moved away from Teleport. That doesn't 100% mean it's going to be an AD Kai'Sa build, but there is certainly that possibility. There was an adjustment on Stormrazor for patch 8.17, which now gives you 5 less AD. So if you're going not Doran's Blade as a first item and you get the Stormrazor pickaxe, that actually only gives you 85 AD, and you only naturally get to 100 and evolve it at level 12. So we'll wait and see. That actually becomes relevant in this game, but it was always Stormrazor pickaxe into evolve, but with all the adjustments to Stormrazor, the natural timings do start to go away.
It's interesting to see how just small changes in one item can affect a champion so hugely. Thinking maybe we would see some Doran's Blade starts to try to accelerate the amount of AD and the level by which you can get it, but again, it's not the best. You can see he's going for the ring instead of that, so you know where that is on the tier of lane items.
The problem is that you're not very long range. If you walk up to try to get those lifesteal hits in, you get E'd by the Xayah and get stunned. So you get very little out of it. It feels like all other Doran's items give you something. The mana regen to trim the wave with your Q, and also going into the Doran's Shield just for some trading. Gonna be a Rage-based starters. Face check here. He has Cleanse.
Does have Cleanse, but there's just so much here that he has to get rid of. Nice block by Yondu to make sure that he wasn't gonna get hit by that, but Ian forced to cleanse and flash.
He thought through that really well. The moment he saw the Xayah, he needed to make that adjustment, expecting the exact play that came through. Yondu getting hit, he's full health. It's not gonna do too much, but nice to draw a summoner out of the mid laner, and Dove probably looks at it and says, okay, maybe it's time to pop the World Ender and get that solo kill.
That was what I was thinking about. I mean, already on Fleek is here again, but so is Yondu trying to help to push the lane, but they could force a 2-on-2.
They're going to.
And no summoners here for Ian. He is going to be dead meat if you'll have it.
Goodbye.
Ignite comes in, and even the bottom lane shows up. Try to steer some of that XP, I suppose, but nicely done by Dove on Fleek to help out with the kill.
Too early in the game, no Rift Herald picked up, so they can't just force down a mid lane turret, so the roam timing is wasted unless they make something of it now. The percentage play there, Yondu was in the right spot, but he's really got nothing, right? His flash is down, he can't do too much, he can't delay. Zascano who doesn't want to ult either of the targets, so ends up being a kill, and actually, we're going to have the Tahm Kench and the Sejuani be the duo to take down the Ocean Drake for the laning phase. A nice pickup for BattleComics.
Really good start for them. This is before 9 minutes, which is going to help out even the Aatrox in the mid lane. Infernal Drake is going to be next.
It's a good read by Yondu to come to try to help, but it's not enough, and the wave is in the absolute worst spot. Whenever we see Irelia or Aatrox, we talk about if it's frozen outside the enemy turret, where do you stand? The question, when you have no cleanse and no flash, you just don't stand anywhere near. Unfortunately, he walked up, he thought with a friend it'd be enough, but not even going with a friend was enough, and Ian goes down.
I mean, even if you thought you could get away without your summoners, he was standing on the wrong side of the lane. He was closer to the brush where they didn't have vision, and he was in range of the Arctic Assault. So definitely just a bit of a panic moment. They wanted to push fast, didn't think it through. They got punished for it. Now Soar trying to go for the solo kill on an ADD. There's that one. Can he get the silence in? No. Feast nearly takes him down, but he does get the flash.
And this is one of the most fascinating GP matchups because early game, he actually bosses around any melee tank, and you include Cho'Gath there. But then there's always a turning point post-6 where there's a window, especially if you buy Righteous Glory, to chase down and kill the GPs, not building health outside of a phage early. In this particular case, the solo kill doesn't happen. But it's a nice, fun matchup. I feel like it's kind of similar to Irelia Kennen and Irelia Rumble matchups of the past. It's swung towards Soar. It's going to continue that way with the flash being down. I'm sure some people are looking at the Fairy Charm and wondering about that. A lot of Korean top laners picking up Fairy Charm because the sell value is so high compared to how much it costs that you don't really feel like you lose much, and it's just some more mana regen to use the Q off cooldown in lane.
And it's incredibly cheap, so if you just have extra gold and you're like, oh, you know, I could use some mana regen, why not? And it's just a pretty good idea from there. No flash on the top side for ADD. Does have his cannon barrage, though. And on Fleek, you'll notice he does get spotted on the ward, but immediately goes up, clears it, puts his own control ward down, and returns to the lane. Really wants to punish ADD.
He's dead.
He's on a ward. Oh, boy. Well, there's the flash coming on in, and he's going to get stunned as well. Do they have the damage? The ult goes wide. It doesn't matter. The feast was available. Easy as you'd like as ADD goes down.
They didn't even need to put him in a literal prison. The prison of the mind was what ADD had created. Thought he was fine in the lane brush. He clearly was not. Gets taken down there. Nice play from Team BattleComics, and we're getting kind of hyped about this team, who we knew about OnFleek being this great piece of a team, but around him the team is responding as well.
I really love that idea. You'll notice that ADD doesn't even bother to use the cannon barrage. Knew he was 100% dead, and that's not going to do anything, going to slow. Yondu comes on in here after OnFleek starts the Rift Herald, and well, Joker's here, but we got more members so far. As Dove has not rotated over, they're actually just going to give it over to MVP. So nice timing for Yondu to come on over and get this big objective.
Definitely be nice. I don't believe they have too much standing damage in any lanes. Going to watch the replay. This is exactly perfect by OnFleek. The only way this gank goes wrong is if he misses his W. So he flashes with the Q to guarantee it. They get in there. They pick up the kill. Again, a bit of a party prison. Weird type of prison, but a party prison nonetheless. I don't know if you find real police officers there, but, you know.
The fun kind of police officers.
Well, I mean,
anyone ever listen to Lil
that
Wayne's
sounds like something
Mrs.
from
Officer? That's,
I thought you were talking about a bachelorette party or something.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, we're on the same point.
You know, we got our synergy going here, even for promotions for 2019.
There was a word I was trying to avoid, but a concept I was trying to get across.
Yeah.
You know how it goes. We're
I think
casters.
we eventually got
we
there.
did. We did.
Wasn't the cleanest, kind of like BattleComics in game number 1. But we got there, we got the point across. And I just, you know, I'm becoming slowly becoming a fan of Dove. I like his play. I like the Azir in game 1. I think his Aatrox has been very clean in game 2. Just kind of gifted the kill in the mid lane after the Ryze stayed too long, but I feel like his mechanics are really on point.
And in a season where giving the benefit of the doubt to anyone seemed like the wrong call, giving the benefit of the doubt to MVP is being turned against us as well, because this seems like an extension of their current 8 best-of-3 losing streak. They've been off the Rift for a month and a bit, and yet it doesn't look like, it feels like another sinking feeling game from MVP against much weaker opposition than their LCK teams. Yondu here, trying to steal away, not going to be able to get the Rift Scuttle this time. Got an Infernal spawning in a minute 10. Let's see if MVP can follow up the Rift Herald they've already picked up with an Infernal Drake as well.
Well, we do have Glacial Prison as well as the Impale here, so both junglers, you can see how frisky they're getting. They're waiting for that moment, any moment really. Ian does have both of his summoners up right now, but you can still consider going for it, at least to blow them off.
It will be a disaster if they lose vision control and face check Aatrox though, because he's already ready to start swinging his big axe and kill people. So with that sword, he doesn't have the Black Cleaver yet, but if he uses all of his Q charges to do damage rather than gap close, we know how big that can be. Speaking of big, Cho'Gath already 4 stacks and looking to feast on a GP that only now is going to get his flash up in a couple of seconds.
ADD making his way towards that Trinity Force. Passed up on the Phage. So he doesn't have that extra amount of health. Ruby Crystal from that. Soar's getting in there and getting some pretty good trades so far. But in the end, now we got Yondu actually coming up to the top side. There's a lot of ward coverage up in the top, and they see the Skarner. They actually start it before they even see the Skarner. As Yondu not going to be in position here for the Infernal. They're looking for the top tower instead of that Infernal Drake.
Joker's already been able to walk up, so we'll see how much work they can get done. They know Feast is down.
Oh man, this is really awkward for the side of Cheryl Dean and MVP. Cheryl Dean's like, I didn't want to be on this team. Can you take me with you? As BattleComics in position, right on point there. Yondu walking over a ward. Very unfortunate Rift Herald for them.
Yeah, that Rift Herald sucked, Valdez. That was terrible. I understand why they made the play, because they didn't even sweep the brush. He just wanted to use the Herald, but the fact that Joker walked up undid the play completely and made it look terrible. So that's MVP's only kind of bonus from the first 15 minutes wasted. They're going to feel good about the fact that Pilot's still free farming on the bot side, but all these little moments aren't going the way of MVP like traditionally they do in these promotion matches, and right now, only 200 gold lead, but we're liking what we're seeing from BattleComics.
Yondu looking to turn around a gank in the mid lane, but Ian just backs away. He doesn't have much mana. They'd like to hand over that blue buff, but it's even in the goal, but double Drake, and the one thing that MVP had going for them not working out is pretty good for the side of BattleComics. They're going to have the Aatrox and Xayah damage duo, but in the end of the day, MVP does have that scaling that you were talking about before the game did start. Ryze, Kai'Sa, and GP should have the stronger late game as this goes along.
Agreed. There's still ways that BattleComics can subvert that. If you remember when we had Africa Freaks versus Kingzone, we were in a 1-3-1 Ryze meta, and then we found out that the Cho'Gath Baron comps, if you can make the right decisions in the mid game and make it all about Baron, well, that's a great way to undo what MVP's trying to do. It's a battle of vision control to me. Whichever team has the control ward lead, the face check starts, and both teams are pretty good at capitalizing on a face check and getting a pick, either Skarner Suppression or the Cho'Gath Feast. So given that, we'll see how BattleComics can take over this top side quadrant. They really want the top side river. MVP will take whatever they can get. For now, they might be getting a prison because here's Sejuani. But she's not going to be going in just yet. Coming in a bit late.
Will it be the party prison this time around? Yes, it is. We're back into the party prison. On Fleek having a bit of fun with that one. But, ooh, Pilot and Max just drop away from that. Don't even have to burn any summoners. So, nicely done for them. And now they're looking for a turnaround down on the bottom side. This Realm Warp going to be spotted. And now it's going to be up to Joker, but he gets impaled away. Trying to turn it around here is Hollow. Does have that Feather Storm, but not enough damage here as the Cannon Barrage comes in and denies any follow-up from Hollow.
Everything invested for only a single kill on the support is definitely not what MVP were looking for. The Xayah able to open up a lot of space. Didn't even have to flash. That was just Feather Storm used after going into the belly of the dying Tahm Kench. We're going to get the replay. Great Realm Warp play came in this time around. You can see the spot there. This definitely feels like the sinking feeling even after the Devour was used. But flashes, comes out of the belly, close to the turret. The GP ultimate gets no value. Definitely not the worst case scenario for BattleComics, but I like the endeavor from MVP.
They make it work. You can see the response at a Soar up in the top side, though, able to push this top turret. You'd love to get that Cho'Gath onto the map. Does have his teleport and a Righteous Glory, plus, you know, some extra cooldown reduction. So if you can get him on top of someone into a gank, he is going to be one mighty Cho'Gath, I'll tell you that.
He stole the red buff. Earlier, you'll remember, I'm a much, much bigger fan of this Cho'Gath build in this matchup compared to Rascal, you'll remember, who was going for the Sunfire Cape. Yeah. There's some matchups where Sunfire Cape is fine. Maybe against an Aatrox, I would go for the Sunfire Cape in some situations, but when you don't go Righteous Glory, you don't have any kill pressure on a lot of these top laners. We can look at the kill pressure that's here right now.
There it is. The Feast is going to miss the knockup, but the red buff might be enough. He does get the trade and flashes, looking for that last Q. He gets the slow off the barrel. ADD nearly kills himself there with the barrel. And now we got a 1v1 in the mid lane. Is going to be pulled back onto that W, but is able to get away. Ian did not have his cleanse, and On Fleek was just barely a couple seconds late. Could have been another kill in the mid lane.
40% CDR, and I think the Aatrox picks up that kill, ran out of Q charges, so wasn't able to actually pick up. Hadn't used the ultimate either. Now we're seeing a sinking feeling, though, as On Fleek's back. Will it be one more prison?
Oh, boy.
Another party.
Well, teleport was used into the top lane. We got Dove trying to follow up here. Not much left, but there's the charm. out of Max, trying to hold down Yondu, the cannon barrage. Look at that
This could be
damage though.
turned.
The Rise coming on in, Devour as well, but Joker is gonna have to suicide here, not able to do much. Hollow as well, gonna go too far deep, but that's gonna be 3 kills over to the side of MVP.
All right, more flashes for these Sejuani ultimates, not from range anymore. He's a Mumu this time because that's 3 that are missed, and that one hurt them and punished BattleComics really hard. It's allowing MVP to grow a lead here in spite of what's happening topside. Saw moves away, but some sloppy play, and this AP Kais is going to turn on soon, Valdez. And BattleComics don't have the same sort of lead in game number 2 that they had in game number 1.
Got to be really careful about dives when you're going up against this much lockdown. The Rise, Skarner. Speaking of which, they're looking to lock down ADD here. The Ignite comes down, and they're going to feed that kill over to Dove, so nice response up on the top side.
Another really good W. So we're seeing that. I think that Dove has had a pretty big handle on that ability compared to people who use it a little bit more mindlessly. They should get this top lane turret. They need a lot of mid lane damage as well. Realm Warp's down to get Rise and Rakan there faster. Yondu rolls in. That's the flash, but no ultimate. And a back away, but standing gold in the mid lane and standing gold achieved already on the top side. Oh, on Fleek. Gotta hit one of these ultimates eventually.
Yeah.
Who's the latest person we meme about with Sejuani ultimates? I know it was Xmithy for the longest time, but maybe it's gonna have to be on Fleek, especially because his name does talk about excellence. We're not seeing the excellence of execution on the Sejuani ultimates.
None of these ults have been on fleek, I'll tell you that. It's a pretty easy follow-up from his name, but jungling's been good. Just maybe a Sejuani play. I'd like to see something else. The Olaf was a lot better. And, who knows? Maybe he's just having a bad day. Smite is going to go the way of on fleek here. The Infernal Drake, very important. They would love to steal this away from MVP, but 5 members of MVP coming in. They really want to take down this objective.
Jux doesn't have flash or ignite for this fight, so they have to gap close here. Unfleek's keeping it leashed. He's already tanky.
He's actually going to Arctic Assault away now. Going to struggle to get back into that pit. Soar as well took a hefty amount of damage in the front line. Rise just shelling damage onto them. And once again, they're looking to catch this entire team. A 3-man charm.
Aatrox.
World Ender into the back line. Does he have that damage on Fleek? Still alive, as well as Hollow doing that damage. An unbelievable Rise, though, is the only one alive that is going to be able to shell it back. Dove, can he get the double knock up here with his Q? Is looking for it, but Ian with all the shields is still so tanky. Devour comes in. Do they have the damage to take him out? There's the silence, and they will take him out. Actually taken by Joker there on the backside. A close one, but BattleComics win it.
It seemed like all the tools were there for MVP, but they allowed Aatrox to get into the back line because they forgot him. He went topside and it felt a bit like Peekaboo. Showed up with his ultimate and was able to do so much damage. Watch Dove kite topside. Remember, MVP have good engage, but he kites topside, he's on a ward, and then Peekaboo, they forget about him, and suddenly here comes Aatrox with the World Ender, and he's the one that gets into the middle of the fight, distracting and threatening out multiple members. BattleComics dive in and out from then on, and
Triple kill.
I thought at the end Joker and Soul wouldn't be able to get over the line, but Max goes down, and the silencers in particular, they're much harder to hit these days because the cone doesn't stay in the same spot like it used to. It does move with the model. They hit every time, and that allows them to finish off the kill.
Very close one. You mentioned the silences. Definitely a very important part of that fight. And Dove gets a triple kill. Take a look at his items. Just a quick glance. You know, we're already looking down the barrel of Asterix, but he's 2.5 items with Death Dance already completed here for Dove, who is level 14, Aatrox, 24 minutes into the game.
You trifle with him another time, he's probably got all stacks of his Ravenous Hunter now as well, so he's going to have extra lifesteal from abilities. So given that, I think we're going to see some big value. Speaking of big value, definitely was a bit of a Ian Raid Boss moment in the previous fight. 7,810 damage, more than the rest of his team combined.
He makes all the other bars look really small, even though, you know, Cho'Gath, Xayah, and the Aatrox did a hefty amount of damage. Ian was actually on top by far. I think he picked up a couple of kills of his own, has a Void Staff now on top of everything else.
So some 2-item spikes. We already mentioned the one from the Aatrox, but the 2-item spikes are coming thick and fast. Kai'Sa is online with the stopwatch picked up as well, but no Zhonya's or Banshee values. I think Zhonya's is probably going to be the call here. The Void Staff going to mean some more threat. If Ryze is now just more of a utility in the next fight, might be setting up the dominoes for Pilot to knock down with this AP Kai'Sa. They're onto the Baron now, a good secure and good turn from the Sejuani. They're doing it fast as well.
MVP absolutely know that this has started, and they do have vision. They're looking to peel off and try to get on top of Yondu here. Kind of barrage comes down. Do a nice amount of pick damage, and Yondu is in position. World Ender already used. They're looking to get in the back line. Can they get onto Ian? Yes, they can. No damage comes out of the Ryze this time. It's going to be all up to Pilot. Can he carry from the left side? He is going to be full health for the rest of his team. It's just going down way too quickly. Dove is going to be the MVP of this one. Gets on top of ADD, takes him out as well. That's 3 for 0 and could be the Baron.
What an awesome Baron turn coming through from BattleComics. It looked like two people were stuck behind the pit and thus will be taking bonus damage from the Baron. They pop over the wall and start the ganks there. 5v5 team fighting is how BattleComics won those Challenger playoffs, and it might be how they beat MVP today.
I said it before, I love their brand of League of Legends. Pilot somehow takes out Dove, but and Xayah secures the Baron, but either way, it's really fun, fast, and I love the way they fight in these team fights.
How many Barons have we seen go wrong where 3 people kite down, 2 people kite up, and we're like, uh-oh, stuck in the GPL. Instead, they just hop in for a flank. Every W is death from Dove. Pilot tries to open up, but he's already lost his Ryze, and Ryze was the only raid boss on the side of MVP. Really inspired Baron turn from BattleComics. Loving what we saw, and they were able to make the maximum profit by get the Baron.
BattleComics now way, way far ahead. 4,000 golds here, and they're looking to get as much as possible from the Baron power play. We already mentioned the scaling. You can take a look at the damage here. Actually, the Ryze doing less than the Tom Kent's because he probably only got 1 Q off before he got absolutely decimated in the back line. But BattleComics, this is their moment to shine. They need to push it in even faster. 4,000 gold is good, but you need to get ahead of this comp.
Meanwhile, we saw the cheese at level 1 from game number 1. Now we're looking for the gank rush to start getting rid of some of these Baron buffs. 1 Baron buff down on the side of BattleComics, as of course someone died right at the end of that Baron. But apart from that, Dove is the only one missing it. We're seeing him push through mid lane here. He's bought some defense. He can clearly see the damage is already being registered from the Black Cleaver and the Death Stance that were picked up. Zeke's convergence is done. But sitting on the stopwatch, didn't even use the stopwatch in the previous fight, did Pilot. It is a lot of melee short-range champions, so the siege is not easy. The dive, though, they might start to consider it as the turrets go down.
I mean, even right now, Dove is just playing with Yondu, saying, come at me, bro, I dare you. And it feels like they're far enough ahead and strong enough now, level 16 on their solo laners. So they're going to have those ultimates compared to level 15 on both the solo laners from MVP. ADD's not even there, has his TP, but they're going to lose the inhibitor in the mid lane already.
Honestly, no reason for ADD to be there, so smart of him to split push, but they're going to lose an inhibitor, they're going to lose an inner turret. I imagine he'll regroup for the second inhibitor, but he's going to try and push and get some gold. Everyone looking a bit anemic on the side of MVP. The gold lead's not huge, but it is 6,000. Will BattleComics throw out another ultimate? There's that GP ult to try to slow them down. Here we go!
Oh, gonna get on top of that. Kai'Sa does have the stopwatch, though. Look at Ian up in the top right side. Does have a bunch of damage from there. They're looking to take out the turret now. Just take it a little bit slower. Our BattleComics win for that engage. They open up space. And they are going to pick up that second inhibitor with no damage taken in terms of kills.
And they even got a bonus because Ian had to flash away from the chains. MVP have not been able to respect that ability, and we've been impressed by Dove's positioning on it. ADD played it as well as he could, but it didn't matter. They lose 2 inhibitors, and while no one is eliminated, guys, it's a best of 3. There will be a best of 5 to play, but it seems like MVP will have to battle from the losers match just to make it back into the LCK. Whereas BattleComics might have 2 chances, the double chance at the top side to be promoted.
I mean, we already talked about it before. Damwon Gaming looks like one of the more impressive teams that are playing today. And how weird would it be if we had the 2 challenger teams in the winners match and then the 2 LCK teams down in the bottom side? It's definitely a possibility as Team BattleComics are trying to make it a reality.
We've never had that in recent memory. Thinking through, I can't remember that ever happening, even in the season when MVP was promoted alongside, let's think about this, ESC Ever at the end of 2015. Might have been 2016, actually. I don't believe that both of them played in the final there. I believe they were still one team in the higher side of the bracket. So given that, it would be a first time ever. We've already been surprised by the level of BattleComics. Damwon Gaming haven't had a consequential game to play in a long while as well. So maybe they will disappoint to the level that BattleComics impressed. But regardless, for now, let's zoom in on the fact that MVP are one team fight away from being knocked out of this top side of the bracket.
It's not what you want, Dove. They actually, MVP, they banned out the Varus instead of the Aatrox, and Dove and BattleComics said thank you very much. I mean, he's been really clean on this Aatrox so far, and I think that absolutely had to be banned out once again. Decide against it, might come back to hurt them, and well, here we go. Gonna get some damage down on the ADD already. Cannon Barrage comes out, but they're looking for that third inhibitor here. There's the engage coming out of Max, but he is so squishy. Look at him, he might even go down to Ignite on the backside. And here comes Dove in the front line. Pilot, no can do as he goes down. Ian doesn't have the space. And BattleComics, they're looking to go to the moon as they want to get this 2-0 victory up against MVP. Ian just walking straight into it. Nowhere for him to go. Looks like we are going to have a 2-0 to start off this promotions.
The winds of change are coming even for LCK 2019. We know about the Riot Stadium. We didn't know about the power level of BattleComics. They tank up the Nexus, they're having a bit of fun, and now they're in the winners match. They may not be qualified yet, but whatever team faces them in the winners best of 5 on Thursday has a lot more of a real proposition to face than they might have thought at the start of today.
BattleComics seem actually impressed by themselves. They say, oh, that wasn't that hard. We just took out an LCK team 2-0. I'm okay with the winds of change, especially if they come off the back of play like this. Again, it wasn't the cleanest thing. It's not top level LCK, but a couple of mistakes here and there can be ironed out when you have actual good players that do decent macro and play good League of Legends.
Game 1 looked like a challenger team playing above their level. Game 2 just looked like LCK play from Team BattleComics, and that is a very good sign for a team aspiring. It's an org that's been long suffering, that over 4 seasons in Challenger have gone from the last place to making it through finally to their first ever promotion series. MVP have been there for 2 years, 5 splits in the LCK, and despite the fact that they have that entire roster available, Maha not playing in these 2 games, it looks like maybe that run is coming to an end. ADD understandably crushed. They will not play again till Friday, where they will face the loser of our second match. Our second match is going to be in an hour, guys. It's going to be a bit of an extended break here in the LCK. But Team BattleComics gets to go home, gets to smile, and gets to plot for their winners match in 2 days' time.
Definitely a sad story here for MVP. As you mentioned, they're not out of it just yet, but they have a significant fan base. They've been a brand here in the LCK for quite a while. Would hate to see them leave. We actually expected to have them and have them actually get out of promotions, but honestly, that play did not impress me, and I'm not sure if that's good enough to make it into LCK again.
All the hands are in for BattleComics. They can feel really good about how they played today, continue to play above their level when it matters. Everyone looks hyped. They deserve it. Congratulations, BattleComics. And for MVP organization, remember, MVP Ozone won the LCK then champions, and that was the lineup that went on to become Samsung White. They sold the organization to Samsung. They started again in Challenger, and now have had 5 splits in the LCK, so they have this kind of unique history of having 2 extended tilts at competitive top flight League of Legends. They may no longer follow the history of the Samsung now Gen G organization, but they're a proud team nonetheless. This is not the performance they wanted to show on day 1 of this tournament.
Right from the get-go, Soar putting on the pressure in the Shogoth versus GP lane. He draws out the flash on Fleek. Seems to be a really high-quality jungle. We'll put the party prisons away. We had 3 of them in a row from on Fleek, but his pathing and his play in general, very, very high quality.
We started with some optimism about Dove's Aatrox and On Fleek's jungling, and we come away from just very polished 5v5 team fights. Again, this is what they showed in those 2 best-of-5s that qualified them in the Challengers playoffs. Their front-to-back team fighting on Cho'Gath comps was something very impressive. They made the game about that, and MVP just trifled with them too much, forgetting about the Aatrox kiting up top, getting caught in some different ways. And the Baron turn from BattleComics, one of the most inspired Baron turns that we've seen
So cool.
all season. You don't expect the double kite topside, and the moment that Ian sees them out of vision, he realizes, wait, I've got no chance to turn this around. He was the person who went from 7,000 plus damage to the lowest damage dealt in this particular fight. And the moment this came off for BattleComics, you knew the 2-0 was basically in the bag.
There's that fight. They went on to the Baron. They got 2 lanes worth of inhibitors and everything. This is the last fight from MVP, but even at this point, they're too far behind. I mean, Cho'Gath, 10 stacks, 2 tanky, stone plate. You can try to impale Dove all you want, but he'll eventually be out of it and ready to go. They were too far behind, weren't able to stop the push, and very impressive stuff. I'm actually very happy with the way this went, kind of at the expense of MVP, but I'm excited about BattleComics.
We've had plenty of promotion tournaments where the match was a battle between who was the less bad of the two. Remember, it is 9th and 10th in LCK versus the top 2 from the secondary league, which is a very big step down. This was just, especially in Game 2, good League of Legends played for BattleComics to actually sew up the series, and that raised our optimism that we might get a really high-quality best-of-5 on Thursday, whether it is Damwon or BBQ, especially if those 2 teams turn it on in our second series of the night.
Yeah, very curious to see how those 2 teams are going to pull ahead. Obviously, the SOAR, the site for, well, that saying doesn't actually work.
The site for sore eyes, you say?
Yeah, the 4,600 damage Skarner. No, definitely, I mean, Yondu didn't have the best series. Trundle in Game 1 and then Skarner. He just didn't really have an opportunity to get any of his lanes going. Did the least amount of damage, even less than the Tom Kench, who was... Joker was actually a lot cleaner in Game number 2 as well. I feel like a lot of those nervous mistakes were kicked out in Game 1, and he had a very solid series. So, granted to him, did more damage than the Skarner.
Seems like we're going to throw it over to an interview. We're talking to the players today. They look pretty happy up there, Valdez.
Yeah, so I'm going to hand it over to G since he's going to help out with the translation.
Thank you very much. This is Jason with your interpret translations, and today we're going to be joined by Joker and OnFlick from Team BattleComics. Congratulations on your victory. It was your first match at the promotions. How do you feel? We did struggle a lot during the splits, but it turned out really well, so I'm really happy. How was today's match? I came here to win. I'm super happy. I think it is obvious that you guys came here to win. And it wasn't upset that you guys picked up a very one-sided 2-0 victory. Well, I think we are a little bit underestimated, so we want to kind of break through all the comments about us. Did you guys prepare anything special for today? Not really. Well, we have been underperforming throughout the season, so we just wanted to show our full level of potential. Weren't you guys nervous before going into games? I kind of enjoy the nervousness. It makes me focus more during the games. It gets me some more ideas. Moving on to OnFleek. Everyone was so hyped about you. I saw you were shaking your head. Well, overall it was all okay, but I kind of wasted my ultimate in the early games. So we kind of lost team fight at the Herald, so I think that was a snowball over there. So I saw my mistake during the game, so I was a little bit disappointed. And also, a team fight at the bot lane, I also wasted my ultimate, so I think I have to repair on that using my ultimates. Except that I'm pretty satisfied. Well, everyone was calling you as the best jungler in Challengers League. But I guess there were some little mistakes during the games. I hope I can repair on my mistakes, but it kind of depends on my conditions of every day. Well,
그게
the matter of
언제
skill
쓰느냐에
shots.
따라서
네.
언제 어떻게 쓰느냐에
The
따라
timing really
구도가
matters.
달라지는데
네.
그 부분은 좀 연습을
Well, so I guess I have to
해야
do
될
more
것 같아요.
practice on that.
오늘 또 승리를 이렇게 크게 거뒀지만 또 한 번 연습을 또 생각하시는 오늘 그 감독님께서
And your
각오를
head coach said,
말씀해 주세요. 그랬더니
This is
딕스
BattleComics
백호
time
타임도
before
들으셨나요?
going into the
아, 네,
series.
들었어요.
어떠셨어요? 오늘 백호 타임 좀 나온 것 같아요?
종종 나온 것 같아요. 1경기
I think it was a BattleComics time today.
타임 때문이 아닌가.
아, 백호 발언을 내준 게?
1경기 때 좀
Well, we
밑에
did
했었거든요.
let
네.
MVP to take the
저희 이제
Barons.
특성이 발동돼가지고.
Well, that is part of our BattleComics time, so there was a little bit of a risk over there.
볼수 있었으면 좋겠다라는 분들이 굉장히 많아요. 오늘
Well, a lot of fans are
이렇게
expecting
싸움이
more
많이 날
from you
거라고
guys from
사실
now
이렇게
on.
한타가 많이 열릴 거라고
There were a lot of
너무
team fights during the
놀랐거든요.
games, and
네.
you guys were performing really great.
아무래도 백호 타임에 대한 이야기들이 좀
Well,
그쪽이잖아요.
BattleComics time can
이제는
mean
줄여야겠군요.
positive or negative. So
저희 팀이
the negative BattleComics time should be get rid of, right?
무조건 이기지 않을까.
Well, if we just get rid of all the BattleComics time, I think we will be able to come back with clean performance.
자신 있게 말씀은 이렇게 좀 극복해 나가는 모습을 보여주고 싶으셨나 봐요.
저희 특유의 좀 장점이자 단점이.
Well, that is the strength and also weakness at the same time. So we have to a little kind of repair on it. But without BattleComics time, we get a little bit weaker. So I think we have to remain the BattleComics time with us.
그런 부분인 것 같고 계속해서 경기를 보면서 좀 느껴봐야
I guess
될
there are
부분인 것
pros and
같습니다.
cons about it.
온플릭 선수 제가
And
알기로는
moving on to
오늘
OnFlick.
또 아주 소중한 분들이 이 자리에
Family
함께
came here to
하셨다고
support
들었거든요.
you today.
아, 네.
아니셨어요? 가족분들 오셨다면서요.
네.
가족분들이
Yes,
좀
they are here to
응원해
support
주셨어요,
me.
아,
많이?
네, 그렇죠. 평소에 또 뭐 계속 문자
Well,
메시지
they're
하고요.
always supportive.
경기
They are sending me
기대한다고
messages all the time.
많이 말씀해 주시죠.
And they said
부모님이.
they are looking forward to my performance
오늘
today.
부모님 계속 아마
especially my
떨리는
parents.
마음으로 지켜보셨을 텐데 아유 지켜보고 계십니다. 인사 한 말씀
She's
해주세요.
still out here
어머니한테.
watching your interview. Is there any message for her?
아니,
Hi, mom.
와주셔서 감사합니다.
Thank you for coming.
네, 좀 사랑의 말씀 한마디 해주시죠.
Any more warm comments?
앞으로도 계속 잘할 테니까
I will keep
기대
up with
더
my
많이
good
해주세요.
performance. So keep
사랑해요.
looking forward to my
고맙습니다.
performance.
이게
I love you, mom.
사실 그 아드님들이 부모님한테 사랑한다는 말 하는 게 굉장히 어렵대요.
You know,
어머니도
for
하트 좀
sons, it's really
해주실래요?
hard to say I love you to their moms.
아들에게
So.
하트. 감사합니다.
And that's a reply, a heart, big heart from his mom.
여기 할머님도 함께 오신 건가요?
네.
네, 이게
And also your
가족분들의 또
grandmother is
많은
here
응원이
with her,
도움이
with your
됐을 거라
mother.
생각이 듭니다.
I guess
자,
it
이제
was
여기서
super
끝이
supportive for
아니에요.
you.
한 경기가 더 남았네요. 만약에
And
목요일에
won
있을
your victory on
승자전에서
this
한 번만 더
Thursday,
이기게
the winners match.
된다면은 LCK
You guys
무대로
will get
가게 되는
a
겁니다.
spot for the next
눈앞에
LCK
아련하는
Spring
걸 것 같은데요.
Split.
이제 그 승자전 이 오늘의 기세라면 진짜
Well,
이기겠다라는
if you
생각이
guys
굉장히
stay
많이
consistent,
들어요. 각오 한 말씀 좀
I think you
들어볼게요.
guys will be able to pick up the victory. Are you
이때까지
guys ready?
지켜봐주신 대표님, 감독님, 코치님
Thank you
너무
for all the
감사하고
team
다음
members
경기 마무리
who has
잘해서
been
좋은
supportive
결과 얻겠습니다.
throughout the split. I'm gonna make sure to pick up
감사합니다.
super great result in the
오늘
end.
또 부탁드립니다.
Moving on to
네.
OnFlick.
네.
어머니 생각에 감동
Any last message?
계속 좋은 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
I will,
고맙습니다.
I will keep showing my
자,
fans
오늘부터
good
아니면
performance.
승자전에서 또 한 번 이렇게 오늘 같은 멋진 모습 보여준다면
It
충분히
wasn't
LCK
upset.
무대에서도
Well,
계속 만나볼 수
BattleComics
있을 것
stepped
같습니다.
up
오늘 다시 한번
on
축하드리고요. 고맙습니다.
BattleComics stepped up by taking down
고맙습니다.
MVP today, and I will pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh.
G-Sun.
Yeah.
Back to LCK.
That's
We're
how it-
here.
I gotta say, poor OnFlick sweating up there. It's a very different world coming on to the Nexon Arena stage to watch these matches. But congratulations to Team BattleComics. Looking at their jerseys here. No sponsor badges. Hopefully that changes very fast, Valdez, because they look like a team on the rise. They move their way to the winners match. So they have the double chance, and for MVP, suddenly it's must win for them. There's a double elimination bracket here, guys, as you can tell. And MVP down once already is going to be a bit of an issue. Kim Soo-hyun back on our screens wearing that BattleComics jersey. But we're going to have a bit of a break, guys. It's 7 p.m. Korean Standard Time. The second match of the night. We're back to the LCK norm. Starts at 8 p.m.
Yeah. Weird feels, you know. It's been a while since we did this, I guess. Early August. right?
That sounds right, yeah.
The last time we did like just a regular LCK day, no playoffs, no Worlds Gauntlet.
It's our last double best-of-3 day.
Yeah, that's a weird feeling, actually. Well, for this year. We'll see about the next year or what happens in the future. Anything is possible, Papa Smithy.
It's true.
But, yeah, that was definitely a big surprise. They have a little bit before they get to the moon, but they're on their way. Happy about Team BattleComics. I struggled with that one, but I'm beginning to replace BTC and make that actually BattleComics.
Look, all I learned is that if I see that BTC tracker on my League of Legends internet, bye, bye, bye is all I can say right here. Seems like the BTC market is on the way up.
It definitely is. You can see, you know, some lines. They're going on the upscale, and yeah, you know, we are gonna have that long break. We're probably gonna eat some food. Not sure about you guys. Definitely stick around. Might hop into the chat every once in a while, but we'll be back in about an hour, guys. So we'll see you for the next matchup, Dom 1 up against BBQ.
I see you roll.